Hey, Tommy here. We're going to be reading The Magic Ladder to Success, Lesson 3, Cooperation. This is by Napoleon Hill, and we're going to add some opinions to what's going on here. But first of all, I am pointing out what Napoleon Hill said in the introduction and at the end of the book. The point of this book is to create higher thought impulses in your body so that you create such that you want to take action on your ideas and your projects in such an effective and better manner. And also have a pencil, have a paper, some sort of recording device next to you. Give it a pause when a good idea comes to mind and keep writing and write it down, or keep listening and keep writing it down. My intention here in the past to you in the future is for us to connect in this mastermind and create really good, um, yeah, just really good ideas to come to mind, especially if they're good for all others. Lesson 13, Cooperation. This is distinctly an age of cooperation in which we are living. The outstanding achievements in business, industry, finance, transportation, and politics are all based upon the principles of cooperative effort. You can hardly read a daily paper 1 week in succession without seeing notice of some corporate merger. Aside from hostile takeovers, these mergers are based upon cooperation because cooperation brings together, in a spirit of harmony of purpose, different energies, whether human or mechanical, so that they excuse me, so that they function as one without friction. Marshal Foch was one of the heroes of World War One. The turning point came, as historians will remember, when all the Allied armies were placed under the direction of Foch, FOCH, thus ensuring perfectly coordinated effort and cooperation such as would not have been possible under many leaders. To succeed in a big way in any undertaking means that one must have the friendly cooperation of others. The winning football team is the one that is best coached in the art of cooperation. The spirit, yikes, the spirit of perfect teamwork makes the spirit of perfect teamwork must prevail in business, or the business will not get very far. You will observe that some of the preceding laws of this course must be practiced as a matter of habit before one can get perfect cooperation from others. For example, other people will not cooperate with you unless you have mastered and applied the law of pleasing personality, the personality of success. You will also notice that enthusiasm and self-control and the habit of doing more than paid for must be practiced before you can hope to gain full cooperation from others. These laws overlap one another, and all of them must be merged into the law of cooperation, which means that to gain cooperation from others, one must form the habit of practicing the laws named. No one is willing to cooperate with a person who has an offensive personality. No one is willing to cooperate with one who is not enthusiastic or who lacks self-control. Power comes from organized cooperative effort. A dozen well-trained soldiers working with perfectly coordinated effort can master a mob of 1,000 people who lack leadership and organization. Education in all its forms is nothing but organized knowledge, or as it might be stated, cooperative facts. Andrew Carnegie had but little schooling, yet he was a well-educated man because he formed the habit of organizing his knowledge and shaping it into a definite chief aim. He also made use of the law of cooperation, as a result of which he made himself a multimillionaire. Moreover, he made millionaires of scores of other men who were allied with him in his application of the law of cooperation, which he so well understood. It was Andrew Carnegie who gave the author of the Law of Success philosophy the idea upon which the entire philosophy was founded. The event is worth describing, as it involves a newly discovered law that is the real basis of all effective cooperation. The author went to interview Carnegie for the purpose of writing a story about his industrial career. The first question asked was, "Mr. Carnegie, to what do you attribute your great success?" You have asked me a big question, said Carnegie. Before I answer, I would like you to define the word success. Just what do you call success? Before the author had time to reply, Carnegie anticipated the reply by saying, By success, I think you mean my money, do you not? The author said, Yes, that seems to be the term that stands for success. Oh, well, replied Carnegie, if you merely wish to know how I got my money, if that is what you call success, I can easily answer your question. To begin with, let me tell you that we have here in this steel business a mastermind. This mastermind is not the mind of any one person, but it is the sum total of the ability, knowledge, and experience of nearly a score of men whose minds have been perfectly coordinated so they function as one in a spirit of harmonious cooperation. These are the ones who manage the various departments of the business. Some of them have been associated with me for many years, while others have not been here so long. You may be surprised to know, Carnegie continued, that I have had to try and then try over and over again to find those whose personalities were such that they could subordinate their own interests for the benefit of the business. One of the most important places on our staff has been filled by more than a dozen before one was finally found who could do that work in that position and at that same time cooperate in a spirit of harmony with the other members of our staff. My one big problem has been and always will continue to be the difficulty in securing the services of people who will cooperate, because without cooperation, the mastermind of which I speak could not exist. In these words, or their equivalent, as I am quoting from memory, the greatest of all the steel magnates the industry has ever known laid bare the real secret of his stupendous achievements. His statement led this author to a line of research covering a period of over 20 years, which resulted in the discovery that this same mastermind principle is also the secret of the success of most of other successful leaders of this type who are at the heads of our great industries, financial institutions, railroads, banks, department stores, and so on. It is a fact, although the scientific world may not yet endorse, that whatever two or more minds are allied toward any undertaking in a spirit of harmony and cooperation, there arises an unseen power that gives greater energy to the undertaking. You may test this out in your own way by watching the reaction of your own mind when you are in the presence of those with whom you are friendly. Compare your reaction with what happens when you are in the presence of those whom you do not like. Friendly association inspires one with a mysterious energy not otherwise experienced, and this great truth is the very foundation stone of the law of cooperation. An army that is forced to fight because the soldiers are afraid they will be shot down by their own leaders may be a very effective army, but such an army never has been a match for the army that goes into action of its own accord, with soldiers determined to win because they believe their side ought to win. At the beginning of World War I, Germans were sweeping everything before them. The German soldiers at the time went into action singing they had been thoroughly sold and on the idea of culture. Their leaders had made them think they were bound to win because they ought to win. As the war went along, however, these same soldiers began to see the light. It began to dawn upon them that the killing of millions was a serious business. Next, the thought began to creep in that after all, perhaps their Kaiser was not the ordained agent of God, and that they might be fighting an unjust war. From this point on, the tide began to turn. They no longer went into battle singing. They no longer felt proud to die for culture, and their end was then a short distance away. So it is in every walk of life and every human endeavor. Those who can subordinate their own personalities, subdue their own self-interests, and coordinate all their efforts, physical and mental, with those of others in support of a common cause they and have believe and have already gone nearly the entire distance toward success. A few years ago, the president of a well-known real estate company addressed the following letter to the author. Dear Mr. Hill, our firm will give you a check for $10,000 if you will show us how to secure the confidence of the public in our work as effectively as you do in yours. Very cordially. To this letter, the following reply was sent. Dear Mr. J, I thank you for the compliment, and while I could use your check for $10,000, I am perfectly willing to give you gratis what information I have on the subject. If I have unusual ability to gain cooperation from other people, it is because of the following reasons. 1. I render more service than I ask people to pay for. 2. I engage in no transaction intentionally that does not benefit all whom it affects. 3. I make no statements that I do not believe to be true. 4. I have a sincere desire in my heart to be of useful service to the greatest possible number of people. 5. I like people better than I like money. 6. I am doing my best to live as well as to teach my own philosophy of success. 7. I accept no favors from anyone without giving favors in return. 8. I ask nothing of any person without having a right to that for which I ask. 9. I enter into no arguments with people over trivial matter. Excuse me and my apologies. 7. I accept no favors from anyone without giving favors in return. I ask nothing of any person. Hermosi was mentioning it's a good idea to give what you can to all others, because then in your bank account you'll have a free favor, and when they go like, thank you so much, this was so great, how can I ever repay you, you could always come up with something right there. That's number 7. I accept no favors from anyone without giving favors in return. So give them first, and then the people will ask to give them back to you. 8. I ask nothing of any person without having a right to that for which I ask. 9. I enter into no arguments with people over trivial matters. 10. I spread the sunshine of optimism and good cheer wherever and whenever I can. 11. I never flatter people for the purpose of gaining their confidence. 12. I sell counsel and advice to other people at a modest price, but never offer free advice. 13. While teaching others how to achieve success, I have demonstrated that I can make my philosophy work for myself as well, thus practicing what I preach. I am so thoroughly sold on the work in which I am engaged that my enthusiasm over it becomes contagious and others are influenced by it. If there are any other elements entering into what you believe to be my ability to get the confidence of others, I do not know what they are. Incidentally, your letter raised an interesting question and caused me to analyze myself as I had never done before. For the same reason, I refuse to accept your check on the ground that you have caused me to do something that may be worth many times $10,000. Very cordially, Napoleon Hill. In these 14 points may be found the elements that form the basis of all confidence-building relationships. Cooperative effort brings power to those who can get and permanently hold the confidence of great numbers of people. This author knows of no method of inducing others to cooperate except that which is based upon the 14 points here described. There you go, lesson 13. Cooperation. It's always good to cooperate, right? With yourself and your plans, with your family, friends, neighbors, just cooperate, right? To some extent, right? All right, go on to the next chapter. It should be, suggested, or you could always click the playlist, which is right over here. And if you click that, you can watch it all the way from the beginning or listen all the way from the beginning. It's really, it's all about beneficial growth for both of us. I appreciate you, and I hope you got some great ideas during this reading. If not, go on to the next one or start from the beginning of the book at that playlist right over here. Peace. Appreciate you.